We used to be close, but people can go from people you know to people you don't. And what hurts the most is people can go from people you know to people you don't. Sanbanan Dumalang, hello, it's me Sfisa here, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast Simply Do the Work. Before we dive into today's episode, just a reminder, if you're not yet subscribed, please do subscribe, share the podcast, and feel free to reach out to me at Simply Sfisa on Instagram and Twitter. Just let me know your thoughts, comments, and even topic suggestions. So I started this episode off with some lyrics from the song People You Know by Selena Gomez, which, side note before getting into discussion, is actually a song when I first listened to the album, I even did a reaction to it on my YouTube channel. I thought the song was gonna age really bad because of how repetitive it is, but somehow I think because of just the simplicity and sincerity in the lyrics, it still hits deep more than a year later, and it is really going to form the basis of what we're going to talk about, which hopefully you could tell from the title. We're going to be talking about losing friendships, or the end of friendships and all of that stuff. So I feel like normally when we talk about breakups, we think of like relationships. I feel like that's what a lot of conversation is centered around in pop culture, and even when we're talking amongst friends. But friendship breakups hurt. They might even hurt even more than like relationship breakups. And what actually brought about this episode is the other day I saw one of my someone who I used to consider like a best friend of mine, and we've literally gone to the point where it's like we don't even know each other. So for today, or how I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna tell you guys the story of my friendship with this person who, let's give them a name. Let's call them, I'm trying to think of a name on the spot here. Apple. I don't know why Apple just kept playing my mind, so we're gonna call them Apple. And then I'm just gonna show you guys some of the reflections I've had. So what had happened was, right, so I went to church with my family, and I saw this person. I saw Apple, or someone who I first like, is this Apple? I'm not sure. But then I'm like, no, that is definitely Apple. I mean, they looked a little bit different from when I last saw them, so I couldn't recognize them. Plus, what let me know that Apple is they were talking to another mutual friend of ours. That just confirmed. And so at that point, I was like so awkward. I didn't know what to do because they were standing at the door and I wanted to leave. So I literally waited for my sister to be near me. So I was walking with my sisters like on my phone, so I could like not make eye contact with Apple and the mutual friend that they were talking to. And literally when I walked past, I heard Apple's voice, and I was like the confirmation. Because also, with like Mars, sometimes you're not even sure is this the person or not. But yeah, I have no doubt in my mind that was Apple. And just seeing them brought up all these emotions. Like I just felt so upset because the way our friendship ended did really have a conclusion, right? Like we didn't really have a big fight. Like I've had friendships end because like the last few days, not like we'd have like these like dramatic fights. So it's like it's over, but like we just argue a lot more to a point where we stop seeing each other, or we don't see eye to eye anymore, and then we just like drift apart. But with Apple, I still can't really pinpoint exactly what the issue was, but in hindsight, it was them sort of pulling away from me. I do have some theories into why the friendship dissolved, which I will share with you guys. So Apple and I, we met at church, right? We met from church. That's how we became mutual friends. Like I think we met at a youth camp. That's where I think we met. We were, I think, roommates, if I remember the story correctly. When we first met, we were roommates, and so that's how we got to know each other. And we were like just like a 1 year age difference between us. So we're like around about the same age, though. I was like in a grade higher, right? So we talk at church, right? I think we were like we follow each other on social medias and stuff. I even remember, I think like the last time when things were good is when I went to one of their birthday parties back in, I think it was before I left for university, so it had to be in 2017. But before then, Apple started dating another friend of mine, and obviously, when people date with a friend group, and then there was a bit of a split in the friend group because I remember there was a fight at some point between them. And to be honest, I minded my business. To be honest, like I literally minded my business, because even when they broke up, like the friend, because they were friends, Apple and the person they dated, let's call them Pear. Apple and Pear were friends before they dated, right? But then after the breakup, like they stopped being friends. And I minded my business. I stayed being friends with both of them. but I don't know, maybe that rubbed Apple the wrong way. I also do suspect. Okay, where was I? I got a phone call, so I kind of interrupted my train of thought. But what I was gonna say is, I do suspect that Apple might have had an issue with another friend of mine. I do think that the issue might have been transphobia, but I don't really have. I don't have like anything concrete to prove that, but I do believe that that could also be a factor. And that brings us into another reason why I think the friendship dissolved, right? Obviously, after university, I started becoming like a lot more in touch with my queerness, right? And being a lot more, especially on social media, right? Being a lot more open about it and a lot more expressive about it. And because we met at church, right? And we never really had those conversations, I don't really know where they stand on that, right? And it's possible that maybe they saw that, oh, this is the type of person that Sfiso is becoming, and they decided to pull away for that reason. Now, I'd also want to talk about two incidences which rubbed me the wrong way. So there was a time in when I was in first year. What happened was, I was still at res, and there was recess, and I didn't have a key to get into my home, and my parents were in Durban, right? So what I asked, said, hey, could I maybe come back to Val and maybe stay over at your place? And then Apple replied and said, yeah, it's cool, but my dad said that we're not going to fetch you. You must make your own way to the house. Which, that was just like, I felt like saying, no, like, let's just leave it. Like, let's just leave it. Because literally, I must take a taxi all the way from Pretoria, get to Vereeniging, take another taxi to Vanderbijl Park, take another taxi from Vanderbijl Park to get near where Apple stays, and then I must still walk with my bags. I'm like, yo, it's fine, I'll just wait for my family to come home, then I'll go take the taxi to Vereeniging, and then they'll fetch me properly. Like, that whole situation was like, just say if you don't want. And then secondly, I remember sending a birthday message, and this was before the pandemic, so it had to have been in 2019. But what I was saying, oh yeah, I sent Apple a birthday message, and they blue ticked me. I think that's when it sort of clicked to me that, oh, okay, I guess the friendship is like really over. Because also, like, we had the different dynamic of we wouldn't see each other often, but it would be a thing of when we do see each other, it would be like a vibe. Like, we didn't talk often, when we do talk, it would be really good. But then I guess, yeah, and so seeing Apple recently just had me really thinking about all these things, and even just having to deal with the inner resentment that I might have had, and all the feelings that I had to process it. And so I wrote just down 4 points that I kind of thought about, which I think, I guess would be like the advice section for this podcast episode. So I think firstly, if you're in a situation similar to mine, I guess, do some introspection, try to just ask yourself, okay, why did the friendship end? Like, I have friendships which ended not because of any beef, but simply because of the fact that, like, for example, I think like people I used to be friends with in high school, right? I wouldn't consider them friends now, but it's not like because we have beef, not like anything happened, but it's just, our friendship survived purely on the fact that we were forced to see each other every single day. And now that that is gone, it's like the friendship fell apart, right? I think also there are also friendships for different seasons, right? There are people who, for a certain period in my life, I felt really close to, but as times changed, as we became different people, we were in different areas of our lives, we're no longer friends. But I'm sure that if we were actually see those people again, like, it would be a vibe. Like, there's like no hard feelings between us. And then secondly, is also, I think there has to be a bit of introspection. Okay, what could I have done wrong? Like, what could I have done differently? What could I have done better? I think also, like, just taking accountability for yourself, but also realizing that sometimes it is not you, it really is the other person. Sometimes people just have their own stuff. Like, I feel like, especially in the case with me and Apple, right, where there's no real clear there wasn't like a clear thing where I can be like, okay, this is probably what happened, this is how I could have, but introspect and think, okay, maybe there were situations in the past, where maybe I did them dirty, or maybe things which just moving forward I'd like to do better, right? Certain areas where I'd like to do better, and maybe not do those things to other people. And thirdly, just also to, I guess, appreciate the time that you had with this friend. I think it's easy maybe, to be mournful of the fact that it ended, and then it's sort of like, or even if it ended really badly, that can sour your perception of the friendship. It's like, it wasn't all bad, right? There were some really good times, and cherish those times and keep them near and dear to your heart. Which brings us to the last part, which is basically like accept and move on. Like in this case with Apple, right? I've accepted, okay, no, there'll be no closure. This is just the way it is. Who knows? Maybe someday might bump into them again. Maybe someday, I'll have the courage to actually speak to them. Probably because I would have maybe like now that I've processed all these emotions. I feel like when I saw them, the emotion just came to me. There was no way I was going to be able to, if they were going to try to do small talk, I was not going to be able to do it. Because I have this thing, I feel like when I'm done or when I'm annoyed, if I'm just not here for something, it's just so clear on my face. Like, even if maybe my words might say the right things, you just tell from my face or just my vibe that, nah, something is off here. And so I think, even in cases where you did something wrong and maybe you were the cause, I think, like I said, taking accountability and also accepting that and just moving forward with your life, and yeah, that brings us to the final thoughts. I'd say people come and go in our lives, as I mentioned, based on the seasons that we're in, and this experience has really taught me the importance of just being honest with yourself, sitting down when things come up, processing it, and also letting go of the resentment. Like, I actually feel a lot much lighter, because not gonna lie, there would be times I would think of Apple and I just feel this residual resentment coming up, but now I feel free, right? I can talk about them and I don't feel triggered, right? And just also the importance of just not dwelling in the past, right? Just moving forward with my life and taking these lessons to become the best version of myself. Just simply doing the work to become a better version of myself in all areas of life. And so, yes, that brings us to the end of this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to reach out to me, as I mentioned, at Simply Sfisa, Instagram and Twitter is where you can find me. And until you hear from me in the next one, or maybe you see me in a video, I love you so much. Bye.